Okay, Shalom Aleichem. This is me, Minsal 89. Welcome to the channel. Today we will be discussing the trial of Yeshua HaNazaret, Yeshua the Nazarene. Uh, First background of it is Yeshua. Who is Yeshua? He's a first century Pharisee, um, rabbi. The reason I would say he's a Pharisee is because A, when he performed miracles such as the miracle of healing the blind man, he's accused, one of the things he's accused with is breaking the Sabbath. And he answered their claims of these miracles and their claims of him violating the Sabbath using a Pharisaic argument. And one of which is that it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. And he's upholding a halakha of the school of Hillel, um, which allows for healing on the Sabbath. Um, the school of Shammai prohibits this. Um, Number two is when and there's also one where he's in his disciples eating in the field. That's another example where he justifies the disciples through Pharisaic argumentation. Uh, in his teachings were distinctly Pharisaic, such as his teaching on divorce comes from the school of Shammai. This is one of the very few times where he does back up Shammai. But his teaching on the Torah, such as you to love your neighbor as yourself, and love is the fulfillment of the law, comes from the school of Hillel. This is a distinct Pharisaic teaching. Uh, and he is recognized as a rabbi by the Pharisaic leadership. The Pharisees would not recognize anyone not a member of the Pharisaic movement as a rabbi, especially anyone who never had a Shemitah. Shemitah, the ordination, a Pharisaic ordination, or rabbinical ordination. And that happens even today among the rabbinical Orthodox Judaism. Orthodoxy is a continuation of Phariseeism. So they're descendants of the Perishim, or Pharisees. And even to this day, they do not recognize anyone as a rabbi unless they've had a Shemitah, a ordination, a rabbinical ordination by the laying on of hands. The Catholic and every other organization is the same way. No Catholic would recognize anyone to be a priest if they have not been ordained with the laying on of hands by a previous priest. Okay? And number two, what we also know about Yeshua is that he opposed the Herodian and the Sadducees and some Pharisees. As mentioned earlier, he mainly opposed the school of Shammai. And you can tell that by the context of the miracles and his teaching and who he disagreed with. Number two, what we know is that when Yeshua was arrested, he was arrested and taken to the house of Caiaphas. Who is Caiaphas? What we know about Caiaphas is that he was a Sadducee. A Sadducee is someone who did not believe in the resurrection of the dead. They did not believe in an oral Torah. They did not believe in an afterlife of any sort. They did not believe in spirits, which is why the persons accused them of casting out devils in the name of devil had to be a Pharisee, not a Sadducee. And they evidently did not believe in the coming of the Mashiach. They were strict literalists only. And we also know that Caiaphas was a Rome-appointed high priest, which means he was in bed with the Roman Empire. That gets to the backdrop on Caiaphas. Now, what we know, why would a group of Jews have another Jew delivered up to Rome to be executed as a prisoner? Well, what we know then is that the Pharisees and the Sadducees were enemies, one with each other. They were enemies to the point that there was an actual war between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, a war of the Jews, is what it's normally called, uh, in which many Pharisees and Sadducees killed each other. Uh, we also know by the record of Josephus is that the Sadducees had Yaakov HaSadiq, James the Judge, or the Righteous, put to death, and which pissed a lot of Pharisees off. And the Pharisees went to the Roman government and ratted the Sadducees out, if you will. So that's what happened there. And it was Josephus has an account saying that the destruction of the temple was a result of the death of Yaakov HaSadiq, James the Just, who was the brother of Yeshua, who was called Mashiach. Okay? So we know which Yeshua, which James he's talking about. Um, Now, we know that the trial was at Caiaphas' house. And while at the trial at Caiaphas' house, they took up, they paid false witnesses to testify against Yeshua. And this is what is perverting justice. Matter of fact, this is what God got on to the leaders of Israel in Psalm 82 for. And even throughout the prophets, he gets on to them for these things. And he even, in James, the letters of James the Just, he gets on to people for being unjust and perverting justice. So that's what we have there. And we also see that a group of Jews rose up and left the uh, the trial, protesting it because it was unjust and it was illegal, unlawful, if you will. And the only group that would do this, that would really protest and because of procedure, were the Pharisees, for a good number of reasons. The Sadducees were corrupt. They corrupted the priesthood. They owned the priesthood for the most part. Uh, Now, when they were at Pilate, what we know is that Pilate, that Caiaphas, the high priest, was the one that handed Yeshua over to the Roman authority and charged him with treason. One of the things Pilate did was he pretty much tried to satisfy two groups. Those of the Sadducees who wanted to who wanted to have Yeshua killed, and the protesters who protested the death of Yeshua. And he satisfied the other group, protesters, by washing his hand and saying, I am guilty of this man's blood. In which the Sadducean response was, let his blood be on our hands. Which makes sense. They're guilty. They're saying we're guilty of his blood. If so, that's what happened there. And with the Sadducees, we know that the temple was destroyed, and the Sadducees eventually went extinct. All right, that's what happened there. But here's the smart of Pilate is that Pilate, when he presented Yeshua and Barabbas, he asked a very, very smart question. He said, who shall we release, Barabbas or Yeshua, the King of the Jews? In which that question sets up the Jewish people with an alternative, set them up for a fall. If they chose Yeshua, they would recognize Yeshua as the King of the Jews, which would have been sedition and treason to the Roman government. And treason is punishable by death. So if they would have accepted Yeshua, or said release Yeshua, they would recognize him as the King of the Jews, and they would have Rome trample over them without a problem. So in this way, Pilate was very, very smart politically speaking, and it shows the guilt of Pilate, that Pilate really wanted this man dead. Also, this also explained when I said earlier false testimony. This explained why the Sadducees could not kill Yeshua, because they did the trial